Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission is basically a crash course in Italian culinary perfection.
hmm
You sent us this huge stack of sources. We're talking chef's notes, historical docs, technical guides, all covering the five most beloved Italian classics.
And we're here to pull out the absolute non-negotiable rules.
Exactly.
It's funny, we often think world-class food means 1,000 ingredients, these super complex steps.
Right.
But these dishes, they really prove that genius is actually found in mastering simplicity. The thread connecting all of them is a command of chemistry, really.
Chemistry. How so?
Well, it's understanding how temperature and starch and fat all combine to create something magical, like an emulsion. It's turning, minimal ingredients into something incredible.
So we're not just learning five recipes, we're really uncovering the master techniques.
Yeah, the secrets that separate, like an amateur attempt from a true trattoria classic.
We're going to be diving deep into spaghetti alla carbonara,
The definition of Roman restraint.
lasagna alla bolognese,
The great commitment of Emilia-Romagna.
pizza margherita,
The paradox of simplicity from Naples.
yes, risotto alla milanese,
A technique that demands your full attention.
and finally, tiramisu.
The ultimate cheerful finish from Veneto.
Okay, let's unpack this. And we are starting right away with the two pasta kings, beginning with a Roman masterpiece that demands, well, absolute purity. First up, let's tackle carbonara. This is a dish Italians guard with a fierce loyalty. It's almost like a football team.
It really is.
It's famously Roman, and the history is fun. Maybe it was the carbonari, the charcoal sellers, or maybe it's just that the black pepper looks like coal dust.
The history is charming,
Mm-hmm.
but the immediate critical lesson here, and the sources are so strong on this, we basically have to shout it.
What is it?
Classic carbonara contains absolutely no cream.
None.
Zero. This is the fundamental, non-negotiable divide.
But wait, if I'm just using guanciale fat and a couple of eggs, how do I stop the whole thing from turning into, a greasy scrambled mess?
That's a challenge, right?
It needs to be intensely creamy.
That is the $10,000 question, and it is all physics. So the fat comes from rendering the guanciale, that's pork cheek.
Okay.
The sources do note that if you can't get guanciale, good pancetta is next best, or even pastrama or cubed beef if pork's not an option.
But the creaminess itself.
It's a three-part emulsion built on temperature control.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics of that magic trick.
First, you need your binding agents. 2 whole eggs, plus 1 extra yolk, mixed with just Pecorino Romano or Parmesan. Second, the vehicle, which is the rendered fat.
Got it.
And third, the glue, that starchy reserved pasta water.
Ah, this is where the technique gets razor sharp. The chef tip in the sources is all about heat management.
Precisely. You have to take the pan off the heat before you add that egg mixture.
Completely off.
Completely. If the pan is too hot, those eggs will instantly seize up. The sauce will break or curdle. You need just enough residual warmth from the pasta and the pan to gently cook the egg and form a silky sauce, not an omelet.
So if you're trying this at home, you have to remember that starchy water isn't just for texture, it's structural.
It absolutely is. And what's fascinating here is the science of it. The starch molecules from the pasta water, they act as the emulsifier. They lock the fat and the egg proteins together.
Wow.
It turns what could be a mess into a stable, velvety sauce. That's the why behind using the pasta water. It's simple, but it's chemically necessary.
That is dedication to simplicity. Okay, speaking of dedication, let's move from that high-speed, high-stakes technique to the long-form commitment required in Emilia-Romagna. Let's talk lasagna alla bolognese.
Ah, a classic that defines Bologna. And unlike the lightning-fast carbonara, this dish is all about patient construction.
Right, the layers.
Alternating layers of pasta, the famous ragù alla bolognese, and that creamy bechamel sauce.
The defining thing about a great lasagna has to be the time, right? That ragù commitment is intense.
It is. A true ragù is built on minced beef, onion, carrot, celery, garlic, tomato puree. But the sources are clear. The flavor only gets deep when you cook it low and slow.
How slow are we talking?
I mean, you can get away with 30-40 minutes, but the real masters insist on simmering it for 1 to 2 hours. You just cannot rush flavor development.
That is a serious time investment. And I noticed an interesting tip in the sources about the ragù something to soften the edges.
That's the optional but very insightful addition of milk.
Milk in a tomato sauce.
Just a small amount toward the end of the cooking. It helps to balance the acidity of the tomatoes. It gives the sauce a rounder, richer profile. It's a subtle tweak that makes a huge difference.
Okay, let's talk assembly. The bechamel sauce.
It needs to be perfectly calibrated. It has to start as a thick flowing consistency. If you make it too solid on the stovetop,
It'll get even thicker in the oven.
exactly, it'll bake into this dense, dry layer. You need that flow to keep the whole dish moist while it's in that 180-degree oven.
And here's the point everyone who's made lasagna will relate to. The final chef tip is all about structural integrity.
Yes, if you want a clean slice, if you want it to look beautiful on the plate, the lasagna must rest.
You can't just cut into it right away.
You have to let it cool and settle for 10 to 15 minutes. If you skip this, the layers just slide apart, the bechamel oozes out, and your perfect construction collapses. It needs time to set.
So we've established Italian cooking is either about intense time commitment, like the ragù, or instantaneous precision, like carbonara. Now we're moving to a different kind of challenge, the paradox of simplicity.
We're heading to Naples for the iconic pizza Margherita.
A beautiful piece of culinary history.
For sure. The origin story is famously tied to 1889, created for Queen Margherita, and the key was using just 3 colors to represent the Italian flag.
Red from the tomato, white from the mozzarella, and green from the fresh basil.
Simple as that.
I find it so interesting that the source describes this as the simplest but the hardest to make well. What makes that so true?
Well, when you only have 3 toppings, there's absolutely nowhere to hide. Every single ingredient has to be perfect, and your execution has to be flawless. If the dough is off, if the cheese is watery, if the oven's not hot enough, the failure is instantly obvious. It demands mastery of the fundamentals.
Let's talk about those fundamentals, starting with the base, the dough.
The dough must be perfect. That means high-protein flour, preferably tip 000. But the real game changer is heat.
Just raw heat.
Intense, furious heat. For home cooks, the source says preheat your oven as high as it will possibly go. We're talking 250, 270 Celsius, and use a pizza stone or a cast iron pan.
Why the stone or cast iron?
To maximize that heat transfer right to the base, that's how you get a crisp crust while the inside stays fluffy.
And the sauce, is it another slow-simmered thing like the lasagna?
The complete opposite, actually. For authentic Naples style, you want an uncooked tomato sauce. Just a simple puree with salt and olive oil. The intense heat of the oven cooks it instantly on the pizza.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The technical challenge of moisture control. This feels like the difference between a crisp pizza and a soggy mess.
It is the difference. You must drain the mozzarella beforehand. It's naturally wet. If you put wet cheese on the dough, that water turns to steam in the oven.
And it steams the dough instead of baking it.
Exactly. The center gets miserably soggy. Simplicity means restraint. Don't overdo the sauce or cheese, and make sure that cheese is as dry as you can get it.
Okay, from the fire of the pizza oven, we head north again, to Milan for a dish defined by a totally different kind of precision.
Risotto alla Milanese.
And here, texture is everything.
It is. It's famous for its creamy richness and that amazing yellow color from the saffron. It's a dish of intense active attention.
So, unlike the ragù, which you can set and forget, risotto is constant physical work.
Absolutely. The technique is everything. It starts with sautéing onion, then toasting the rice. You have to use a high-starch rice like Arborio or Carnaroli.
And toasting it does what?
It seals the grains so they cook evenly. Then you deglaze with white wine until it's gone.
That's the prep. But then comes the what, the 20-minute dance?
That's the key step, the hot stock. You add hot chicken or vegetable stock, but only 1 ladle at a time. And the fundamental technique is continuous stirring for about 18 to 20 minutes.
Constantly stirring.
Until the rice is al dente. Cook through, but with a tiny bite at the center. The stirring releases starch from the rice, and that's what creates the creaminess without any cream.
So it's similar to the carbonara science, but you're mechanically forcing the starch out.
Precisely. And the star ingredient, the saffron.
Right, the zafferano.
It needs a little prep. You
Yeah.
don't just toss it in dry. You pre-soak the strands in a little hot stock for maybe 10 minutes to release that color and aroma. Then you add it about midway through cooking.
And then there's that dramatic final flourish, mantecatura.
The vital final step. You take the pot off the heat and vigorously stir in cold butter and Parmesan. This aggressive stirring creates the specific texture the source describes. A consistency that spreads slightly on the plate. It's fluid, like lava, but never soupy. That final emulsification is mandatory.
We've covered savory perfection defined by heat, starch, and time. Now, for the cheerful conclusion, we're wrapping up our tour with the beloved layered goodness of tiramisu.
Tiramisu. The name is just perfect. Tiramisu. Literally, pull me up or cheer me up.
It's from the Veneto region, right?
That
Treviso.
is the generally accepted origin, yes. The perfect antidote to a long day.
The ingredients sound so simple, Mascarpone, sugar, egg yolks, ladyfingers, coffee. But the source did include a specific warning about the raw eggs.
And that's an important safety note. Since the classic recipe uses raw yolks for that richness, the sources suggest using pasteurized eggs, or maybe finding an egg-free recipe if you're serving anyone high risk.
Okay, so once you have your perfect mascarpone cream ready, the real challenge is the sponge base.
The ladyfingers, the Saviardi.
This is where I always go wrong. I end up with total mush instead of structure.
And that's because the true chef's secret is speed and temperature. The coffee-strong espresso, and it must be cold, can be the downfall of the whole thing.
Too slow and it falls apart.
The ladyfingers have to be dipped very quickly and pulled out immediately. They're so porous. If you let them soak for even a second too long, they just disintegrate and ruin the entire structure. It's a dunk and you're done.
It's all precision, even for a comfort dessert. And the final great secret to a perfect tiramisu is just patience.
Absolute patience. You can't serve it right away. It has to chill for at least 4 to 6 hours, but preferably overnight.
Why so long?
That chill time lets the flavors marry. The cocoa, the coffee, the mascarpone, and it lets the whole structure set firm. It really rewards waiting.
So we finished our dive into these 5 classics: carbonara, lasagna, margherita, risotto, and tiramisu. And I think if you take anything away from this, it's that Italian mastery is all about these highly specific, non-negotiable techniques.
That's the whole takeaway. No cream in the carbonara.
A multi-hour commitment for the ragù.
Intense heat and moisture control for the pizza.
Continuous active stirring for the risotto.
And that super quick dip for the tiramisu.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems like Italian cooking teaches us that the best results come from a profound respect for simple ingredients and precise timing.
Yeah, whether that timing means 2 hours or 2 seconds, using just a few elements forces you to master the fundamentals.
And for you, the learner, the source material offers a great next step. You could use these tips to perfect a single dish you already love, or you could plan a whole Italian menu using these 5 classics. But let's leave you with a final provocative thought, building on this idea of technical fusion. We saw the science of starch binding the carbonara, and we saw the furious heat needed for the margherita.
Right.
So if you could combine any 2 of these 5 specific techniques, say the long, slow simmer of the lasagna ragù with the final aggressive mantecatura of the risotto to create a brand new dish, what would it be?
What new classic and simplicity combined with precise technique inspire?
Think about that while you plan your next kitchen experiment.